Good morning, guys. Welcome to this Friday, August 21st. And market is kind of net to the upside here in the overnight, retracing a little bit. That's a good sign. Overall, this week has been kind of sloppy and backed off a little bit. Has been probing to the downside the last few days. And we'll see if we find some support here. They almost retraced the whole move out of the middle we had here from starting from August, beginning of August here. And that's unfortunate, I guess, but it's how the markets work. So they were building value here for a bit. They have a move out of the middle to the downside, really, is what's going on right now. And we'll see how far they want to take that before they either find support or keep driving this lower. Now, this move out of the middle to the downside, it's not necessarily it's an event of some sort which started it, but it's not any major news event, crash in the market or anything like that. It's more the earnings reports and some you know earnings report, general sentiment, concern about the AI trade and a bunch of other stuff going on, which caused the market to pull back a little bit. So it's not a big move. It's just probing to the downside, and I would just not worry about it too much. Unless you start taking out support here at the 76.30s and starts trading back in this lower range, then we may have to start worrying about this a little bit. So today's question is really, are we going to be able to find some support here and potentially reverse this? Now, the news we have for today is pretty much non-existing. We have PMI composite flash at 9:45 this morning, and that's it. So no real news to drive the market. And we are looking at pretty much summer type trading, middle of August. No news to drive the market Friday. Yeah, the risk off crowd will probably look for more downward pressure. There could be a little bit of a lift. The oil is down a little bit, so we'll just start off this with a range bound and keep a slight bias to the downside, given that we have been extending to the downside the last few days. If it looks like they can hold this support line at 76.60s, then we potentially could maybe start shifting ourselves towards the long side here a little bit later in the session. So right now, starting off with a range bound, primarily with a slight bias to the downside, looking at the sell strength. I'm going to adjust this level. I just noticed something. You see this mode up here at 77.04. I want to include that in that range. I'm going to cancel this guy out like that, and then I'm going to redraw this a little bit like that. Okay, there you go. And then pull up my F1 again. Where's my F1 on ES? There it is. So if they can hold the support line here at the 76.60s, we may have a shot at start retracing a little bit further. I would just wait for them to take out yesterday's day session high at the 77.15s before I start thinking about maybe we have a retracement trade going. But right now, I'm looking to sell strength against that 7700, 77.15s for rotations down. I'm going to buy against the 70s and the 60s here with a bit of caution, since I'm technically leaning towards the long side, towards the short side. So we'll see if they're going to keep grinding this to the downside. Sometimes we get a little bit of strength in the day session, in the overnight, just to see it get completely reversed in the day session. So not going to be too optimistic just because the overnight here is grinding to the upside a bit. So that's kind of how we get started on the ES. Very tight range before I start shifting bias back and forth here. So above the yesterday's day session high, 77.15, I'm going to start looking for more retracement trade to the upside. And if they start taking out the 60s on the downside, well, yeah, bets are off. We're heading lower again. And if they go below that 76.30s, yeah, that's when we have to start worrying about the the short side in a bigger way. So that's kind of where we are here, down at 76.30s on the lower end of this range. So that's kind of where we get started. Looking at the NASDAQ. Nasdaq also pretty sloppy, but it's net to the downside. It has been trading lower here the last few days. Today's day the overnight right now has been retracing a little bit, taking out actually yesterday's day session high. So Nasdaq has a little bit more going for it. But then again, as you do with Nasdaq, you just have to take everything with a grain of salt there and give it a little bit more range. So I would look for another level up here, maybe the 29 580s, maybe the 620s here for rotations down. But I'm not going to be. They actually retraced almost sufficient for me to start shifting my bias back to the long side. So um, there could be something going on the Nasdaq here. We'll see if they can get up here and keep going a little bit. We may see. We see it tread back in this upper range and potentially drag the ES with it. So Nasdaq looks like they have a better shot at making a stand here. But again, Nasdaq also can retrace this range pretty darn quick when the day session kicks in. So we're gonna have to wait for the day session to start and see where they want to go with that. If they're down here trying to test support again, or if they're going to be starting to be a little more of a risk-on kind of dynamic here. Fridays, not great for risk-on type trading, so usually that's more of a risk-off kind of trading day. But I don't think we have a bunch of unexpected or a bunch of things going on in the bigger picture, which is going to be surprising. The rainy situation is pretty calm right now. Exactly. Now it's an economic squeeze instead of a kinetic squeeze. The internal economy, the earnings this week on the some of the Walmart and those guys, the retail kind of companies have been okay, but not great. So you saw Walmart get crushed yesterday for missing a little bit or not having good enough earnings growth. So that is probably leaning on the market as well. But Nasdaq looks like they have a shot at trading back up again. But I'm still looking for shorts against that, the 520s, 580s, 620s here for rotations down. And looking to buy weakness against the 420s, 370s, 270s down to that 220s for rotations back up. This is a pretty good support area right here. So that is something you want to look for buying opportunity against. But it's a bigger picture kind of support area. So they can certainly bounce back and forth here a bit before it fails. So right now we have an overnight down there backed off. We have a day session testing it, and we have an overnight testing it, and we're all three held so far. And so we may not need a retest again in the day session for this to work out. So that's kind of where we are on the Nasdaq. But Nasdaq is just notoriously volatile, so we have to be a little bit more cautious on that one. The ES, however, they back up above that level, the 76.90s. That's the breakdown from yesterday. They were holding that level pretty good for a long time, and then they had that last retracement retracement to the downside. So the ES retraced pretty good, and they're holding up here so far. So it looks kind of semi-optimistic for a little bit of a rally to develop here early on, but we'll see. I'm still in the camp for early weakness, selling early weakness for rotations down until I see them start taking out some key areas of resistance. So for the ES, it's going to be this session highs at the 77.15s that comes out. I'm going to start being more aggressive on the long side, thinking that, yeah, we have a little bit more of a rally going. And on the Nasdaq, I'm going to give it a little bit more room here above they already taken out yesterday's day session high, but I would give it a couple of more levels to the upside before I really start leaning in on the long side. So still looking for short setups, keeping a bias to the downside. But take out that 620s or the on the Nasdaq or the 77.50s on the ES, taking off the bias to the downside, and definitely starting to lean in on the long side at that point. So that's the ES, that's the Nasdaq. Not much news to drive the market, not a lot of volume. They're down to 120 in the overnight here. Nasdaq at 500,000 traded, the micro Nasdaq. So not a lot of volume right now compared to what it can be and usually is. So just take that into account as well. Looking at the bond market, President came out the other day and said, well, don't worry about the noise. The bigger picture is going to push prices higher on the bonds and yields down. Okay, well, we'll give it a few days and see what happens. But you can see here that's announcement came out there. It popped pretty good, and they retraced everything here yesterday, and then now they're kind of holding in the middle. So I would expect the bonds now, if you're going to take Besson as his word, as at his word, that we're going to start drifting higher on the bond prices. I would favor the long side right now. They're going to buy weakness against the 109, against the 109.67 and the 109s rotations up. Below 109s, back on the short side. Potential shorts against the 109.20s and 109.26s. But about 26s, I would be right back on the long side at that point. So one market is moving a little bit. It looks like they're trying to figure out what to do. But I'm thinking that what peasants want to do, usually he gets. So I'm thinking bond prices is going to start heading higher here, at least in the short term. And yields coming down a little bit. So, but I'm going to buy against the 109.67 and the 109s for rotations up. Looking for shorts against the 109.20s and 109.26, 27s here for rotations down. And on the crypto side of things, on the Coinbase section, cryptos has been moving higher. So Bitcoin is at 76 right now. That's a great sign. Way up. They have been that's 15,000 on the price in a week. You're trading at 60,000. Oh, this in a few days actually. 60,000 here already in a week. And looking at the Ethereum is trading at 23, so that's also grinding higher, slowly but grinding higher. And we'll see if they can get that Clarity Act over the finish line. I think that's what the Lebanon news about that is what's been driving this. Let's see if they can keep that going and actually make pass that in the Senate when they get back from their break. So that would be good. But it looks like the Bitcoin is getting a little bit of life again. All right, back to the ES and the Nasdaq, and right now we kind of left kind of where we left it. It's kind of twisting in the wind, but not to the upside still. And remember, no news to drive the market. PMI flash at 9:45. That's all the news we have to lean against. And other than that, I would just look for the strength to continue here in the overnight on the Nasdaq and see if that materializes. But if we get the day session where they start off and then start just hammering it again, running it down to test the lows, well, I would look for that retest of the lows and then potential failure on that one. If that doesn't fail, well, then we have a risk off Friday in front of us. All right, so those are our options in front of us in terms of trades. So we'll wrap it there for now. Let the day get started and then see how it all shapes up by the time we get to that London close. All right, guys, good trading. I'll see you guys back at 11:30 later.